Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. My name is Louis, and today we are here for another episode of the Debate Room. It feels like it's been a while, but I'm joined by Matty, Jay, and Drew. We've got a few things to cover today. We're going to be talking about the trophy parade, which has already been organised and will be going ahead no matter what, and we'll decide whether that's a good or a bad thing. We're going to be talking about what Aston Villa could possibly do. They've rested Coutinho and Ings for their game tonight. What could they possibly do to try and stop Man City? Not beat them necessarily, but at least hold them to a draw to do something magical, and one or two other bits as well. Whilst we wait for a few people to get in, I can see Gary and Jen are already here. Hello to you. Matty, how are you doing?
Doing good. What a time to be a Red, really, and whatever happens with the Villa and City results, I'm still very proud of the team this season, and they've given us memories and moments that'll last forever, really.
And Jay, how are you finding yourself this evening? You're on mute again.
Oh my God, honest to God, with this mic, someone doesn't want me to speak. All good, mate. Like Matty said, we've been spoiled this year. I feel like when my dad and granddad used to talk about like the 70s and the 80s, I feel like we're in our little era of that, if you will.
And Drew, are you feeling that sort of nostalgic feeling that Matty and Jay are feeling about this season?
Yeah, same sentiments from across the pond, and definitely looking forward to the next few years as well.
Absolutely. So just like that, there's 2 games left of the season, 2 trophies still up for grabs, which just that alone is absolutely insane. Let's get underway. First of all, hello, Hyla, as well, for just joined. Let's talk about the trophy parade, Matty, because I know we saw some of your thoughts in the group chat. You're fine with it, even if we don't win anything else this season. Jay, on the other hand, I think has a slightly different take. So we'll get into that. Sunday the 29th, the day after the Champions League final, Liverpool will be having a trophy parade when those players get back. Matty, just let's get your initial take on that first of all.
I'm all right with it, to be honest with you, because I think that no matter what, it was going to be the Sunday anyway. So the fans in Paris who won't make it back, unfortunately, it was like that with Madrid as well. I didn't make it back for that. But I think it's fine, to be honest. We paraded the FA Cup in 2006, if I'm right in saying. So the FA Cup's a big, although like Liverpool sort of overlook it and Klopp has overlooked it, it is a big trophy to win in English football. It's got the most history behind it, certainly. So I can understand the logic behind parading that. Where I would draw the line is, I've seen people talk on Twitter about maybe they might get the Premier League out because they never got to do that. That'd pee me off a bit. But if it's just the FA Cup and we don't win the Champions League, then I think people will be surprised how many Liverpool fans turn out on the street to Liverpool, to be honest with you, on that Sunday, despite if we did lose the Champions League, because I think that because we were robbed of that Premier League parade because of COVID, I do think that even just parading the FA Cup, everyone will turn out in the numbers. And imagine the boost that'll be for them players if we did lose, seeing 500,000 people on the streets, still singing after them, still supporting them. Imagine the boost that gives them going into next season. And fair play, I think it should happen, and just for that reason, and obviously if we do win the Champions League, which I think we will, it's going to be the parade that we don't even need to be debating it, really, will we?
So, and Jay, give me your just first take on this when you heard about it.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I wasn't keen, to be honest, and a few people pointed out that we done it in 2006. I don't know where I was, because I honestly can't remember it at all. And I've gone to all the parades, but obviously not that one. Me thinking behind it was, if we lost the Champions League and then the lads are getting asked to come back the very next day, they're going to still be on a fat downer from not winning it if they didn't. And like I say, I didn't remember the FA Cup getting a parade. Now that I'm aware it did, I suppose adding the League Cup to it as well makes it a bit better than last time. And I understand why they're doing it. Obviously, we didn't get to celebrate the Premier League, which was horrible. So I think that might be some of the thinking behind it as well, to be honest.
So before I sort of grill you all, Drew, I haven't heard your initial take on this yet.
I'd go along with Matty, and I'd say we definitely deserve the parade. I think, if anything, if you imagine just like the only cheering and support the players get is the last home game against Wolves, I feel like that's not enough to show them how much this season means. I think regardless of what happens in Paris, they deserve a show of recognition for the season that they've done. And that parade with 2 trophies in it, for me, I think there's going to be at least 3. And regardless, I think they deserve that kind of atmosphere to show the appreciation and support for the season they've given us.
Yeah, and I totally take on board Matty's point about, if they were to come back from Paris having lost, I mean, not many teams get to come back from losing a European final and have like a massive parade, which it would be regardless, as you say. Jay, regarding your sort of uneasiness around it, I wonder if perhaps the fact that there's still 2 trophies to win, but we could potentially lose both of them, does that play into your thinking? Like if we'd have got knocked out in an earlier round and the title was over a few weeks ago before the FA Cup final, do you think maybe you'd see it differently?
Yeah, maybe. And to be honest, both the lads have made boss points, to be honest. I think if we do lose a Champions League final, coming back and seeing how much love there is for you regardless can only give you the boost. Like, that is a great point. And what Drew's just said as well was another really good point. We've played every single game possible this season, regardless of what happens. And I suppose having the parade is recognition for that, for us to say, like, my God, what a year, regardless. So I think the boys might have converted me, to be honest. I think there's more positivity out of doing it than there is not. Maybe I was just on my high horse showing how spoiled we've been, really, I suppose.
No, I mean, I was kind of in the middle. Like, I understood why some people might find it a bit odd, but yeah, again, the idea of we've played every single game, we've taken that. This is the longest quadruple bid ever, I'm pretty sure. Like the top 4 trophies, this is the biggest and longest push ever. I'm pretty sure on that one. Matty, because you made a point about, imagine if they brought the Premier League out for that we won a couple of years ago. I mean, in isolation, I wouldn't actually have a problem with that. But for you, and I guess for me, is it the fact that it would almost be laughed upon by people outside of Liverpool? Does that come into it a little bit?
Yeah, it'd be embarrassing to imagine if City are parading their Premier League round and Liverpool are doing the one that we were. It wasn't just last season's Premier League; it's 2 seasons Premier League ago. So it's a bit of a long time ago, to be honest. But I do think that as well with the FA Cup and the parade and stuff, I think if the season would have been normal, the Champions League would have been 2 weeks after the end of the season, the FA Cup a week. So we maybe might have paraded the FA Cup on its own anyway before the Champions League. It's just maybe the way the seasons fell, that we literally the only chance we've got to parade the FA Cup is that Sunday, because that's the end of the season. So I think that maybe has come into it as well, to be honest. But if we bring that Premier League, I'll turn around and go home, to be honest with you. Like, I'm gutted that there wasn't a parade for it, but that moment's gone. It's been 2 seasons now. City won it last year, probably going to win it this year. And just imagine how I'm not even bothered about other clubs slagging us off, because I don't really care, to be honest with you. But it's just that it is a little bit embarrassing, isn't it, to parade something you won 2 years ago? That's like getting the Champions League back out again and going, oh, we'll just bring all 4 trophies because we've won them in the past few years anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Drew, maybe we don't even need, I'm not saying this would happen, but maybe we don't even need to have a version of the Premier League trophy to come out, say that we lose it this season. But it does feel like those players still need that real party atmosphere from winning it those couple of years ago, because they were robbed of it, and we were robbed of having that moment with them as well. Is there almost potentially a spiritual sense of, we can celebrate this double that we've won this year, if that worst comes to worst, but also, I mean, the core of this squad won us that title, and we're going to enjoy this moment as if it was back then, kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you need to drag out a trophy we won 2 years ago to, honor it. I think if anything, if you want to bring it out, maybe have something like when Klopp finally does decide to call it curtains, to bring out all the trophies, maybe get everyone back who was part of the teams over the years and have like a special ceremony for that. Maybe that's something that you can do, and then bring out the Premier League trophy in that fashion, but not when we're celebrating 2 trophies from this season. At the very least, it just seems off at that point, because like Matty said, it's like you're bringing something out of the cupboard while there's another Premier League trophy going on potentially at another bus. But I still wouldn't count that out. We still have the possibility of winning, and I think we might just have a few more trophies on the bus than we expected.
I wish we would have just brought it out, when we actually won it on like Leeds done, and just took the fine, because that's what the Leeds did. They only got fined, and it was like a few $100,000. I wish they would have just got out like an open top bus outside the ground and just had it there. Like, who cares about this government? Do you know what I mean? It just does me head in, because Leeds done it and had that moment with their fans, and I don't know why we didn't.
Let's move on to the next topic, which I think I'm going to struggle to create a debate here, but I'm going to do my best to be the other side of this. Is that what would be a successful season from this point, / is it already a successful season? So granted, we've played every single game possible. We've taken it as far as we possibly can without doing it necessarily. But if we were only to finish with a cup double, and someone take the floor on this, is this still a successful season when we look back on it in 5-10 years? Because ultimately, the trophies count, don't they? Someone take the floor on that one.
I think it's still a successful season, regardless of the Champions League or not, to be honest, and the Premier League. Like you said, we've played every single game possible. No other team's done that. If you look at the points we finish on, even if we don't win the league, it would have won you the league pretty much every other Premier League season, except for the one that we won it, and the 2 where we've been close to City. The other thing is as well, we should never be in this position compared to last season. We scraped third eventually, but we scraped getting in the Champions League. So to go from the season we had last year to nearly winning everything, that can't be called anything other than a success for me.
But Drew, we had, I know we got through the group of death in the Champions League, but our run to the final was comparatively easy to anything we've faced in the Champions League recently, and what most teams have had to do to get to the final. I mean, what a wasted opportunity that would be if we were to drop the ball against the Real Madrid side, who, despite making it past 2 English teams, I would argue was second best for the majority of those games. And I don't want to make a nuanced point oversimplified, but they maybe probably don't deserve to be this far in the competition. So for me, it would be a wasted opportunity, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you there. But I think it comes down to the caveat of how we perform. Like if we go to Paris and we absolutely don't show up, I think that would put a stain on the season, because I think it matters how the manner of how we play in our final games. And I don't know, I think it's almost like with that in mind, it'd be like an 8 out of 10, then 9 out of 10 if we win the Champions League, and then 10 out of 10 if we win the Premier League, just from where we are in this moment. Like once you take a step back and the emotions subside, then you can be like, yeah, regardless, it was a hell of a season and it was a successful season. But I think in this moment, with 2 trophies still potentially there and one that we should have both hands on, I think that we need to at least get that Champions League at this point.
Matty, I'm going to chuck a hypothetical at you. So ignore the Champions League, just say that we lose it or whatever, but the final day of the season, right? Aston Villa do their job and beat Man City, but we cock it up and lose to Wolves. Is that still a successful season despite how close we've gotten?
Yeah. I think no matter what happens this year, it's successful. I've pretty much wrote off winning the Premier League anyway in my head, to be honest with you, because I think every time we rely on Manchester City, you turn the game on, after like 10 minutes, you turn it off again. So I've already think they're going to win the league anyway. And I think no matter what happens, it's been a successful season. Like, we've won a domestic cup double, and the last time we done that, I think, was 2001. So it's not something that happens all the time. I mean, I know City have done it for the past few years, but they're a state oligarch-backed club, and you're competing with that. So the fact that you've even done a double over that team, and we blew Manchester City away in the semi-final of the FA Cup. So I think the season's successful no matter what, to be honest with you. If you were to give me the domestic cup double at the end of last season, when everyone had wrote us off, we didn't know where we was at. We had a really poor season. I think most of us would have snatched your hands off for it. And the fact that we're now in another Champions League final and we've took the Premier League to last day of the season, that's just pure luck, to be honest with you, in terms of the past year or so, and just pure quality at the side as well. So I think this season's a success no matter what, to be honest with you. If it ends with 2 cups or if it ends with 4, I think it's been one of the best seasons of our lives. And let's not forget, if Manchester City weren't about, Liverpool would have won the league 25 out of 30 seasons with the points we'll finish on this year. So any other year the Premier League's been existence, Liverpool probably would have won the league before City got all this money. So you're competing with an unlimited budget with a manager who will be like, oh, my £100 million sign didn't work. And he rings his sheik back up and go, I want another £100 million sign, please. And they go, okay, sir. That's what you're competing with.
Yeah, I could see I'm not getting anywhere with this one. I'm not convincing anyone with any hypothetical that this is a bad season. And when all said and done, I do agree with you. I'm just, it's the debate room, isn't it? Just quickly before we get on to another point about Aston Villa, Hyla's, sorry, Jay, just covering your face there. Hyla says, I want to address a question. Last season, Liverpool were punished because of bad planning in the transfer market, selling Lovren without replacing him. This season, Genie leaving and not replacing him. I mean,
I don't think we would have won the league if we had Genie. I don't think we'd be in any other position. I mean, I love Genie, and I do think that we should have replaced him because his role, he never got injured. He was always there. He always got the ball back. It was like pretty much the modern day Lucas Leiva role. But I don't think that if we had, say, Genie in this side, I don't think the Prem would have been won, because would he have made that difference in, say, the Spurs games or the Brighton games? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Yeah,
and I mean, selling Lovren and not replacing him last season, that meant we had no fit centre-backs and relied on Nat Phillips and Reece Williams to get us top 4. This season, we've won 2 cups and we could potentially win 2 more. So I don't know. I'm not saying Genie was crap, played no part in anything. Like, obviously, he was a great servant for us, and it's a bit unfortunate what's happened to him recently. But I struggle to think that that's an easy comparison between selling Lovren the season before and Genie being let go. But an interesting topic nonetheless.
I think the Bolton Brazy was better than Dejan Lovren anyway, so in my opinion.
He's coming out with some good ones. He says, take Diaz out of the equation for this season. Where would we be? Where would we be? I think, before anyone else gets in on that, I think that's very interesting. And this was in an article that I wrote that I'm going to send to you, Jay. It talks about, Diaz has been fantastic since he's come in, but because he was rushed in, we were initially going to sign him this summer, but because of Tottenham, we had to jump ship and get him. We've had time to tweak the way the front 3 operates. So adding him in as a bit of a wild card, and the fact that he has been fantastic on the other side has produced drawbacks for the others in the front 3. So Mane and obviously Salah with his output. I mean, part of that will just be down to his finishing, you could argue, but a large part of it is just of that front 3 not being as similar as it was at the start of the season. And I think next season, when they've got time to adjust Diaz properly, I think Salah comes back with a bang again. I think, honestly, he returns to his best. But enough of that. Drew, what do you think about that one? Take Diaz out of the equation for this season, where would we be? So bearing in mind that he played a relatively large role in the Carabao Cup final and in the FA Cup final and in some of the Champions League knockout rounds as well. He's done a lot since he's been here. Where would we be without him?
I'd say we'd still be where we are now, minus the Premier League title race. I actually don't think he had his best game in the Carabao Cup final. I think that was probably his worst performance, and worst performance meaning he didn't really affect the game in the League Cup final. You can go back and check the stat or the highlights. He didn't do that much in that game versus the FA Cup final where he lit it up. But at the end of the day, we didn't score. So 2-0 draws. We went to penalties. He wasn't on the field for either one of those. So I think those two cups are still there. And Champions League, I don't, while he came on, particularly against Villarreal, and changed the game in the second leg, I still think we would have got it over the line. So I think we'd still be in the Champions League final. I think the only difference would be in the league, the quality in the league, and our ability to chop and change for each game we've encountered and get results to get us to this point. I think that's where he's made probably the biggest difference. In the case of if you took him out, I think we would have been out of the league conversation a few weeks ago if he wasn't in the team. But that's not to belittle his contribution. He's been arguably our best player in the second half this season. But I just think our quality and our team's that good where we'd still be where we are minus the league.
But again, a very interesting question, Hyla. Thank you for that. And thank you to everybody who is getting involved in the live chat. If you are new, please do consider liking this video and please do subscribe to the channel as well for all of your Liverpool content. Jay, let's turn our attention to Aston Villa on the weekend. Even Matty, the most optimistic Liverpool fan you will ever come across, is starting to concede that maybe the title is gone. Maybe Aston Villa can't get over the line. I think in most people's eyes, Villa have got one of two options: to either go for it or to try and sit back. What do they do?
I'd like them to approach the game the way he approached it against us. I thought they caused us tons of problems with runs in behind. I think Ollie Watkins is a job for any centre-half. He's physical and he's quick. And obviously City have got problems at centre-half at the minute. So I'd like them to play the way they did against us. They showed enough against us, I thought, to show that they can get something against Man City. And to be honest, the reverse tie, City scored, Bernardo scored an absolute worldie. And Diaz scored like a 30-yarder, but it was questionable goalkeeping. And Edison pulled a worldie off at the end of the game for City, so it should have been 2-2, really. So I've got to be honest, I said a few weeks ago, I've still got a feeling we're going to do all four. And I want to disagree with Drew, because Drew's always optimistic, and I'm not. And it usually comes out right what Drew said. So, yeah, I've still got a feeling, mate. I feel that they're going to do something. I don't know whether that's just my heart and not my head, but I've just got this stupid little feeling that we are going to do all four still.
I mean, a lot of people in the chat talking about, the injuries to City's backline. However, Man City have put out, and it's been widely seen, that Kyle Walker and John Stones are both back in training. And bearing in mind it's only Thursday, you'd imagine maybe they'd be fit. And, how big is that for City, Matty? They can control the game. They can use that high line. And if it goes over the top or if they get beaten, Kyle Walker's just going to sprint back and edge someone off the ball, isn't he?
Yeah, but I do think that they're not 100% fit. I think this is City's boost to be like, look what we've got, sort of thing. Maybe mind games. I'm in the same boat as Jay, really, in the sense of I feel like they can get something, because when you look at Villa's performances against the big six sides this year, they haven't been bad. I think Stevie's impressed me, to be honest with you, with how he set his team up against the likes of us and City and Chelsea and stuff. It wasn't an easy game against Villa the other week for us ourselves. So the only thing that sways it for me is just more, it's at the Etihad, and they seem to be quite formidable there, like we are at Anfield. I think if it was at Villa Park, I'd be a lot more confident. But if anyone can go and set a team up to get something for Liverpool, it's Steven Gerrard. How many times in my life have Liverpool needed a hero and Steven Gerrard's cropped up? It's happened time and time and time again for my whole life, and probably for most of your lives as well. Stevie G's always been the fella who's been the saviour for Liverpool, and it just feels like fate of I'm not saying that he's going to get a Premier League medal and he's won the league for Liverpool and that, but it seems like fate after that slip that it is Stevie G who comes and returns, who helped Liverpool get that Premier League in front of fans And the thing I'm most looking forward to is that if they do, obviously lifting the Premier League is going to be phenomenal, but I want to see what Gerrard does. Because can he really remain professional if he gets a result against Villa and his team has just won the Premier League because of it? Like, surely he's knee slide in front of them. And if Villa need any more motivation, just stick the Jack Grealish interview on, who was talking about winning the cup last day of the season the other day. They've won that game in their heads. If they just stick that on the dressing rooms and go, they've won you before you've stepped out. And for Villa, they want to make a European push next year. This is their chance to be like, look, we can mix it with the big boys. And then that's their basis to go on from next year then as well. So I do think that I've got faith and I see they've rested Coutinho and Ings and that today as well. So Gerrard wants it. He wants to do it. You can tell by the team he's just put out today. Like, he wants to do that result. So I've got every faith in the lad for Maiton, to be honest with you. I really have. Like, there's just something there. Like, it's just set up too well for it to not happen.
Drew, a few stats coming in from the live chat, which is always appreciated. Lipok says, if I'm not wrong, Villa haven't taken a single point off the top 5 this season. I imagine that's there or thereabouts true. And Hyla says, Ezri Konsa, important central defender, is injured and presumably out for the Man City game. I think we'd all prefer it if that was Tyrone Mings, but it's Ezri Konsa.
Tyrone Mings is he's a boy of the Reds.
Yeah, if he could have a worldie, that this would be the time to do it. Callum Chambers starting in central defence this evening for Villa. He's probably a 5 out of 10 defender. It feels like the odds are starting to stack even further in Villa, in Man City's favour, isn't it? With some returning defenders and a little bit of injuries feeding into Villa.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to read the stats to know that Villa are underdogs going into this match. But I think there's enough momentum. Matty covered pretty much all of the stuff in Aston Villa, and Jay's talking about how Aston Villa's played, has covered all the favors for Villa going into the game. And I think it's just pressure down to City. Especially if they play Walker and Stones, if they're questionable. Let's say one of them gets taken out, in the 15th minute, they pull up. Then that's one sub less that they have if the game isn't going well. You can go down that line of City just getting more and more pressure. The longer they don't score, the more Aston Villa get chances, the more pressure it's going to be. I almost want you guys to email or set up something where you could get 20,000 Liverpool fans in the Etihad just to cause a scene, something like that. But I think the Villa away fans are going to do enough to create a nervy atmosphere at the Etihad. And all the pressure's on City. So unless they blitz the game, I think, which I don't believe will happen, I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think Gerrard can get it over the line. It's just as Matty and Jay said, it's got this feeling. And the fact that we're at this stage of the season and we're still in it, I'm happy. It's, you can't ask for more.
Just finally, Drew, on this point, How do Villa set up in your imagination, in your mind? Does he? Because it could just either way could just backfire massively, couldn't it? With the way the Man City can control possession, control the space. If they go for it wide open, if they sit back, Man City are the best at dealing with low block teams, I'd argue, in the league. I think that's sometimes a weakness of us. Sometimes we just get through, and that's fine. But Man City, losing 2-0 to West Ham. West Ham came out in the second half and they were parked. They were parked in their own, most of their players within their own 18-yard box. But Man City just find those little intricate passes, and that's something that they do very well. So stuck between a rock and a hard place, Gerrard, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think that's, regardless, it's going to be something you had to deal with. And if we get a draw like West Ham, we win the league. But I think I remember seeing his interview on the overlap with Gary Neville, and he said he just wanted first thing he focused on was coming into the club and making them difficult to beat, like making them a side that you don't want to play. And I think if he could bring that energy into the match where they're challenging City for every ball, they're hard onto the tackles, like they're making this a game that's just, they're going to have to drag up, after the whole season that they've had, the letdown at Real Madrid, like all of that energy that they've spent. Gerrard gives them one of the toughest matches they've had this season. I think that's how they win the game. It's just to be on it from minute one, challenging everything and just making it a game where they have to fight for every ball, for pretty much everything in the game. I think that's how they do it. And just to touch on Matty was saying with Jack Grealish, I think I was watching the highlights earlier for the earlier game this season. I think it was when Diaz scored. Jack Grealish is celebrating on the bench, and then they panned the camera over him, and somebody was tapping on the shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, better be quiet now." I think all of that motivation comes into play, and City have set themselves up for the banana peel. All Pep's taunting, all this mind games. This is the game where he thinks too hard and screws it up.
I think he done that against West Ham as well. I think he underestimated West Ham. Because in that first half, they turned City over. So I think if they go into this game with it already won in the Reds and they're already in party mode, I think Villa could do something. I think the blueprint to get something against City is watch that West Ham game. Just turn up and annihilate them in the first half, get 2 goals, and then make it difficult in the second half. Because if it's a 2-2 draw, who's Arsenal still in the league?
Yeah. Ideally, you want them to set up a bit like Spurs, because Spurs don't control games, but they kill you on the counter-attack, ideally. I mean, Villa obviously aren't as strong defensively as Tottenham. They've got Romero at centre-half, he's class. But ideally, that's the way you want them to set up. Because if they do go out and try and play properly, they're going to get battered. They're going to get beat 4-5. One of the viewers there have just made a proper, important comment saying we can't let them score early though, Villa, because then it's just pure pressure for the rest of the game on Villa. Ideally, you want this to be 0-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
And then second half, it's squeaky bum time for City. And then it only takes one chance, doesn't it, for Villa to get one. So ideally, you'd want it to be 0-0 going into the second half.
I mean, that's the thing. Against most of the opponents that I've watched them play in the last few weeks, the opponents have always created something, no matter how much City control it. They've always created something, but they just haven't been clinical enough. So that's why you hope he's rested Coutinho and Ings, because if they get one opportunity, they have to take it. If I look over, because I'll be doing a double watch along, screen on either side of me. If I look over and see that Danny Ings has missed a clear-cut opportunity, I know that's it. You don't get that many chances, so they've got to take whatever comes their way.
I'd love it to be Ings, though, over Coutinho, just because Coutinho faked that injury and that. And I've got a soft spot for Danny Ings because I think that his injuries ruined his Liverpool career. And I think if he weren't injured so much, he would have done well with us, to be fair. I do like him as a player. So I want him to be the one, to be honest. If the City are winning 1-0 in the last minute of the game, 90+3, I want it exactly the same time as that Aguero moment.
Well, that moment hopefully edges ever closer. It's Thursday night, 8:00. By this time, Sunday night, who knows how we'll all be feeling, but we have plenty of time to get there and plenty of content coming your way as well. Tomorrow will be the Premier League room with James hosting, I believe. We'll go through all of Sunday's final Premier League fixtures, including our own and the Man City game. And then on Saturday, we'll have a full match preview ahead of one of the biggest days, one of the most stressful days. It could end in the first 5 minutes. It could be 3-0 Man City, Kevin De Bruyne, 5 minutes in, who knows? But we live in hope. Thank you to Matty, Jay, and Drew for joining me. And thank you very, very much to everybody in the live chat and everybody watching. If you haven't done so, please like the video. It really helps us out massively. And if you are new, please consider subscribing to the channel. This has been the LFC Transfer Room Debate Room, back with a bang. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.